My name is Bill Grabert and I'm with Tuliomi. Thank you everybody for coming to the May lecture for the Nature and You lecture. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Tuliomi before we start. We are a conservation nonprofit organization based out of Woodland, and our focus is in the northern inner coast range of California. So the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument area. We just absolutely love that area, and we're doing whatever we can to get people to enjoy it and enhance it and conserve it and preserve it. Tonight's guest is Nick Jensen with the California Native Plant Society, and he's going to be talking to us about Walker Ridge, a beautiful place that several of us know pretty well, and some of you may not know at all. So we're going to be hearing all about it from Nick and why it's worth preserving and what's special about it. So go ahead, Nick. Thank you and welcome.
Okay, thanks, Bill. It's really wonderful to be here this evening and to share with you a little bit about what many of you know as one of the I would say one of the most special places in California. And I would say I am walking in the footsteps, grabbing the baton after a lot of people in working to protect this place, along with a lot of partner organizations and individuals. This has been a place that my organization, the Native Plant Society, has been, I dare say, fighting to protect for decades. And it's a little bit disheartening that we're still in that battle. Sorry for the war metaphors, but I'm just using them anyway. But I think we actually have a real decent chance in the coming months and years of bringing to reality what many have hoped and prayed for years, which is to ensure the long-term conservation of this of this very, very special place and management of it in a better way. So I'm going to start sharing my screen because I have a presentation prepared. Big surprise to everyone, I'm sure. And if somebody could give me a thumbs up if they can see my screen that shows a PowerPoint presentation, that'd be good. Cool, thank you. And then I'm going to get it into slideshow mode. And we'll hit the ground running here. These are not photos from Walker Ridge. These are the only photos not from Walker Ridge, but I just didn't dare change my title slide formatting. These are actually from Tuleyome Ranch, another special place in California. I titled it "What is Rare is Precious," and I think I will. If you don't know why that relates to Walker Ridge, you'll probably know that by the end of the talk here. Just a real quick introduction to the California Native Plant Society. We also are a conservation focused nonprofit organization. We're based in Sacramento. That's where I live. We have about 11,000 members and 35 local chapters and have a bunch of programs that do, I think, a lot of good things, all centered around the appreciation, conservation, even growing of California's native plants. And of course, California's native plants make up habitats, which are the food for animals and all kinds of other things. So it's all connected, right? A quick outline of the talk, a little bit of background on Walker Ridge and its botanical significance and some of the things that I think lead to its botanical significance. Threats, it really is one major threat and maybe some sub-threats, but the main threat. And then talk about conservation goals and opportunities. So here we are. This is our place in the world, Walker Ridge. I will note that the polygon I'm using is the polygon of the proposed development project, wind development project. That is the reason for the conservation actions that we're taking. It's a bit of shorthand on my part in that you could probably draw a different boundary of Walker Ridge, but I think it's what I had in GIS, and I think it was fine to use. It's located both in Walker Ridge. The place is located both in Lake and Colusa counties, to the east of Clear Lake, north of Lake Berryessa, and this is Bureau of Land Management land largely. So this is our own, we own this place, right? We, as the citizens of the U.S. It is immediately adjacent to the hash marks here. This is the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument. I'm noting that there are some areas of critical environmental concern, which is a BLM designation for areas that are special in one way, shape, or form, and often have special management associated with them. There's a couple that are actually located inside of Walker Ridge. You can see the kind of the lime or the teal green or whatever outline. And there are some other conservation lands, even some, I think Tuleyome owns a parcel that is a part and parcel with Walker Ridge as well. Zooming in a little bit, I wanted to say that one of the things that is really cool about Walker Ridge is it represents not an extension, but I would say combined with the adjacent Bear Valley, and you'll see the name Bear Valley to the east of the red line in the map there. This represents one of the real botanical hotspots in the state of California. Bear Valley is a place that has tremendous shows of wildflowers in a good year, and maybe even decent shows of wildflowers even in years that aren't so precipitation rich. And so combined, this area is a heck of a place for plants and the animals that rely upon those plants. Also note that it's very close, and if you're on top of Walker Ridge, you can look down on Indian Valley Reservoir. And the highest point I think is Cold Spring Mountain. The real Walker Ridge experts, who are even more so than I am, can fix any errors in the chat or in the comments. But yeah, so you think one can think that it's clear that there's a pretty big elevation range that covers from the valley floor there in Bear Valley up to the higher points, a couple thousand feet of elevation. And just to show you, this talk is not about Bear Valley, but I did want to show you some beautiful pictures of what that place looks like. The top left photo there is a photo looking down on Bear Valley from Walker Ridge. And then there are some just beautiful shows of wildflowers in a good year in Bear Valley, rivaling places like Carrizo Plain or Table Mountain or any of these other botanical hotspots that many of us plant folks know. So Walker Ridge, we're talking about where Walker Ridge as a place, where its physical location is. It has an ecological context as well. And this is, for some of you may be familiar with the Jensen Manual and their mapping of ecoregions in California. This is a map that shows Walker Ridge in red in the center in relation to those other to the ecoregions that have been mapped in the state. And those ecoregions have some sort of continuity in their flora and kind of their origin story of what makes them what they are. And you can see that Walker Ridge is in what's called the Inner North Coast Ranges. And it's really close to other regions like the Sacramento Valley region and kind of those areas to the south, which are, integrating within the Bay Area, and areas that are farther to the north as well. And these places, provide influences as to why Walker Ridge is so diverse. And I'm going to talk about something. I am not a geologist in any way, shape, or form, really, but I am going to talk for a couple slides on some of the geology of Walker Ridge. If you look at the map, the pretty colors on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see that there's this kind of brownish color called serpentinite. And for those of us who are botanists, that's a really important rock and associated habitat type. Then you also see to the south side of Walker Ridge, you see the red line in the center there, or in red polygon there. There's these things called sandstone and mudstone. Those are more of what we call sedimentary rocks. Those provide great habitat for many plants and habitats, but they aren't what makes the botanist go ooh and ah, right? And so I just wanted to talk about a little bit of serpentine ecology. So serpentinite, that's the state rock of California, and it is formed through a metamorphic process of minerals found in ultramafic rocks, and those are rocks that are often formed in the oceanic crust. Our Earth's mantle is made out of ultramafic rocks, and so those rocks are what when they break down and they form soil where plants grow in, they create what we call serpentine habitats. And this is so that's just, just some basic background information on serpentine. And you can see like there's in here, you have you can see really nice serpentinite rock with one of our native onions there in the photo. And so here is, so the map here in blue, so you can see a little bit of red, a little splash of red, or if you can see my cursor there, that's where Walker Ridge. And all the blue here is a map that shows the serpentine and kind of similar serpentinite and other similar rocks that occur in California. You see they form kind of a rim around the valley, our great Central Valley of California, extending in the coast ranges down to about Santa Barbara, and then it ticks out. There's really no serpentine or other ultramafic type rocks down in Southern California. So this is a central and Northern California type of rock and type of associated habitat. So that's just for you to know where those occur. These are rocks that are, I think, generally speaking, associated with the accretion of the Pacific plate onto the North American plate when that was happening. And so, and then they become uplifted, and then as they weather, they create this kind of fabulous habitat for plants. Steve Edwards, who is one of the staunchest people who have argued for the conservation of this place, called Walker Ridge one of the most important serpentine areas on Earth. That's of course an opinion. There's probably no way of really measuring that, but we'll go with it in this talk. So you can see another picture of serpentinite, another really cool plant, a jewel flower. If you didn't know, that's the genus that I studied for my dissertation, or for a portion of my dissertation. So I have quite an affinity to jewel flowers in the mustard family there. Serpentine habitats, the soil that plants grow in serpentine habitat, has some unique physical and chemical properties. Low calcium, high magnesium. Low calcium is not good for plants. It's one of the things that they build cell walls out of. If I'm remembering correctly from any basic botany classes, it usually has low NPK. If you've ever bought a bag of fertilizer, you know what that is: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. And often has a lot of heavy metals, which can be problematic for plants as they're growing, and also very thin topsoil. And so what this all amounts to is challenging growing conditions. But there is a whole suite of plants that have been able to adapt to or had pre-adaptations to growing on serpentine, and then have often separated out from their most closely related species. And there is a whole suite of species now in California over the several million years have developed into becoming what we call serpentine endemics, or plants that only grow in this specific type of habitat. California has a very rich flora in endemic plants, something like well over 2,000 plants. I don't have that number on the back of in my head at this moment for some reason. But so 14.7% of all California endemic plants are actually also serpentine endemics. So there's probably no other habitat that's more important for endemic plants in California. And many of these plants that occur on this type of habitat, the habitat that you're seeing in that beautiful photo that Tuliomi allowed me to use for this talk, and has allowed CNPS to use, is one of the most important places for rare plants. And rare plants are a lot of what we work at CNPS to protect. Another thing to note, very often serpentine areas, given that they have challenging growing conditions, don't have a lot of invasive plants. So if you are on Walker Ridge and you travel down from a serpentine area into, say, an oak woodland where there there's zero influence of serpentine or less influence from the serpentinite substrate, you're going to have a lot of weeds, especially a lot of Mediterranean grasses. And so botanists often flock to these serpentine areas because you can go there and you just see mostly native plants and you don't have to deal with weeds, which is something that we like to do as botanists. So, just kind of focusing on why, maybe a few reasons. Nobody knows the reason why Walker Ridge is so special, but it is I would say a So hold on one second. I'm gonna actually pause for really 1 second. I have to plug my computer in because it's giving me a dead battery warning. So hold on, take a quick intermission here. And I'm gonna go run and get my computer charger. Sorry for that.
That's okay. So hold on, everybody. Nick will be back soon. And remember, you can always put questions in the chat. There are a couple of people that just now have signed up to attend the lecture, so I have to send them the link.
Hello, I'm back. Probably the first question in the chat will be, why didn't Nick charge his computer? I can answer that later. It's complete negligence. So okay, so we're back in action here. So when I was thinking about this talk, I was thinking, why is it so diverse? Why is there so much diversity? Why are there so many rare plants? We'll talk about rare plants in great detail. There are more than 400 plant taxa, by taxa I mean species, subspecies, and varieties, have been documented on Walker Ridge. And I could say that it's probably a combination of these factors and maybe ones that I'm not even thinking about. The geology for sure, the fact that there is also not only serpentine, but there's also other types of rock substrates on Walker Ridge. The ecoregional context clearly matters. Topography, the range of elevation, that's also a major factor. If this were a flat area that was 8,000 acres, even with great geology, you wouldn't have nearly as many of what we call like microhabitats, where there can be different opportunities for plants to carve out a living. And so all of this results in what we would call a great deal of habitat heterogeneity. And this is just a super, super special place for plant diversity. And I thought I'd take you on a little bit of a tour on some of these major habitat types. First of all, chaparral, or those habitats that are dominated by shrubs. There is a myriad of different types of chaparral on Walker Ridge, from those dominated by single species to those that have a lot of diversity in them. Like there's some chemise chaparral that is just only chemise, and there's some chaparral that's much more diverse and has lots of different manzanitas and ceanothus and all these other great California natives. You'll notice here that this is a landscape that has burned in somewhat recent times. It's recovering after a fire. This is most likely a stand of chaparral shrubs that are recovering themselves. And in the wake of the fire, you have this tremendous display of native perennials, native annuals, and the shrubs themselves coming back. I'll talk a little bit more about fire and its effect on the flora in a couple slides. Especially on areas that are off the chaparral, you have a lot of oak woodland. That's like off the serpentine. You'll find a lot of oak woodland. There's some gray pine woodland. This really cool conifer called McNabb cypress. It forms some tremendous colonies, tremendous stands on Walker Ridge. So just take your pick. Serpentine. So we're talking about, you're going to hear me say serpentine so many times, you're going to probably be sick to your stomach on it. But so here is the deal, is that there are so many different niches of different types of serpentine habitats on the ridge. There is these meadows, or these areas that are fairly mesic. There's lots of water where there is influence of serpentinite rock, of serpentine. And those form, some that are dominated by grass-like plants, some that have tons of wildflowers. And there's other more xeric serpentine habitats, almost areas that are almost barren and devoid of vegetation, that have some of the rarest species, I would say some of the rarest species on Earth on them, like this snow mountain buckwheat. So this is a fact of living working from home, is when the dog barks when you're giving a presentation. So there's great diversity of plants in these xeric serpentine areas as well. And sometimes, oftentimes, when a fire burns an area, a natural area, especially in these chaparral habitats like we have on Walker Ridge, the response in the form of native plants, native perennials and annuals can literally be breathtaking. So, in California, it's hard to extract yourself from news about fire or worry about fire if you happen to live in an area where you're in the wild and urban interface. But for a place like Walker Ridge, fire is not necessarily really a bad thing. There's not a lot of human infrastructure up there. There's no homes up there really, or very, very few in the adjacent area. So when a fire burns there, it's more so like generally an okay thing for the plants that live there. Many of our plants in California, especially plants like manzanitas and chamise and our chaparral shrubs, have evolved with fire in their life history. And some plants, especially those chaparral shrubs, absolutely need fire at the right interval in order for them to continue their existence on Earth. So and then what you can see is like that, post-fire landscapes can be incredibly beautiful. Now, if you were living up there, it would be a little bit of a different story because it'd be really scary and dangerous. But in a place like Walker Ridge, it's an okay thing, I would say. So I alluded to the fact that Walker Ridge has a lot of rare plants a little bit earlier on. So to date, botanists have documented at least 30 rare plants ranked by my organization. So CMPS, the Native Plant Society, since 1974 has kept and published a list of rare plants in the state of California. Now there's somewhere around 2,400 rare plants that we consider rare at some level in the state. We have different ranks from 1B to 4, 1B being the rarest, those that are globally rare, and that arguably in many cases are the most important for conservation. And so Walker Ridge truly has some of the highest, I would say, density is not the right word, but highest numerical number as if there's any other types of numbers, the highest number of rare species of any place of its size. Is around like the area that we are considering for conservation. The area that is part of the footprint of this proposed wind project is about 8,000 acres. To have 30 rare plants, to even have half that number, 15 rare plants in an area of that size is remarkable. I did a lot of my graduate research this very special place called Tejon Ranch, mostly in Kern County. There's this super cool place called the Tejon Hills, which is about the same size as Walker Ridge. And we thought I still think it's a very special place. It is an incredible place, the Tejon Hills. There's 15 rare plants in the Tejon Hills, and we thought, when I was doing that work, I would have thought that is incredible. And here on Walker Ridge, it blows that out of the water. And so, 13 of those plants that have been found on Walker Ridge are BLM sensitive species, meaning they have status with regard to environmental impacts as far as the BLM is concerned, or Bureau of Land Management is concerned. And so, it's just, and they range from this plant, which is on rank 4, the serpentine milkweed, to various other ones that I'll show in later slides. So, this is, I don't know, I think there are places that I think that should be conserved, right? Just sheerly, one single fact. And if you wanted to say one single fact for conserving Walker Ridge, I would say because of the tremendous number of rare plants. But there are other reasons. I'll talk about those too. And I thought I'd just do a profile of what some of these rare plants look like, so it's not so abstract to those who may not know them. One of those is this member of the sunflower family called Hall's Harmonium, which is on rank 1B. So remember, that's kind of the rarest of the globally rare plants. This is an endemic plant, doesn't occur anywhere else in the world, only in California. And it's restricted to just a few counties, Colusa, Lake, Napa counties. It's a serpentine endemic, meaning it only occurs on those that particular substrate. You can see that it's faithful to that determination in its photo there. There it is growing on serpentine. So so that's one example of a plant that occurs on Walker Ridge, and it can become, I think, it can be quite abundant in a good year in suitable habitats. Then you have a plant like adobe lily, which is Fritillaria pleuriflora. This is, if there's ever like a charismatic megaflora, this is it. This is an incredibly beautiful plant. Another plant that's on 1B likes mesic habitats, so the habitats have a little bit more water in them. It kind of forms, it's not nearly as rare, globally speaking, I would say, as the previous plant is Hall's Harmonia. It kind of, it occurs in, I think around 100 locations around the rim of the Central Valley and up into the foothills. It's much more abundant on the foot of in the base of the valley in Bear Valley, but it occurs on Walker Ridge as well. Then we have a plant like snow mountain buckwheat, Eriogonum nervulosum. It's another one of the super globally rare plants. It occurs in some pretty harsh serpentine habitats in a very small range, just lake and adjacent counties. So if we start losing populations of plants like Eriogonum nervulosum or snow mountain buckwheat, with such a small global range, that's a real problem for the long-term conservation of certain species. So a plant like Jeffersons Navoredia is a little bit more common. It's on our rank 4, our watch list. Also a California endemic, also a serpentine endemic, but it occurs in various places, from a little bit south of Walker Ridge up to much areas a little bit farther north. And so, not all of the rare plants on Walker Ridge are those super rare, kind of nearly county or small region, small area of California endemics. Some of them are a little bit more common as well, as rare plants go. And to talk about something that is not my expertise, it's a great place for wildlife as well. So you usually, when places have really good plants, they often have good wildlife as well. Yellow-legged frog, which is a rare species, a foothill yellow-legged frog, that is. It lives in mesic areas and wet areas in many places in Walker Ridge, or so I'm told. There's other reptiles and amphibians. There's birds and bats, mountain lions, bears, tigers. Oh my, there's no tigers. It would be cool if there were, though, wouldn't it? Butterflies, 80 species have been documented. Dragon and damselflies, I think about half the diversity of all dragon/damselflies in the state of California occur on Walker Ridge. So this is a really, really great place. And then, of course, ridge lines, those types of places, those are often important corridors. So these are for wildlife movement, and so for animal movement. So this is the kind of place that you really don't want to sever corridors, especially in the age of climate change, where so many plants and animals are having to move. So in order to stay with the habitats they're adapted to. So this is not the time to be severing habitat corridors. Recreational opportunities. This has excellent road access. The region that Walker Ridge is in, the inner North Coast ranges, it's harsh country. If you've been up there, you know that it's steep. There's a lot of shrub-dominated habitat. It's hard to get access to a lot of areas into a lot of these great habitats. So Walker Ridge, the road that leads up, the main road, Walker Ridge Road, and I think Bartlett Springs Road is another one. These are roads that are really travelable, even by people without four-wheel drive vehicles. Even, I think, passenger sedan could if you took it slow, could get up there. And so this is an area that provides an opportunity for people to access this very special region. The views from the top of, even if you care not a whole lot about biodiversity, the views from Walker Ridge, I swear, are some of the best that you will ever see anywhere. If you go up on like a stormy day, I don't know. And with changing cloud formations and stuff, I was there in November, and I was blown away at the vistas that you get from up there, even in a time of the year where there aren't very many plants. So this access provides opportunities for things like hiking and camping and bird watching and all those other things that you can do in a wonderful natural area. It's also a very, very important place for people to do vehicle-based recreation. And we would just, argue that it should be well managed, not that it should be prohibited necessarily. And certainly, one of the most important things as well about Walker Ridge is that it's culturally significant. There is well-known current and historical use by Native Americans. This is a special place for people as well. And so I would say that my plea, of course, not that I'm talking to BLM today or anything, but that I think that local tribes and Native American groups must be, included in the decision-making processes, and even opportunity. I think there's opportunities there going forward for co-management that incorporates diverse, cultural values into this landscape. Okay, so that is my, the portion of the talk where I'm trying to sell you on why Walker Ridge is a great place. Hopefully I've done that. We'll continue to do that throughout the course of the next 4 or 5 hours of my talk. That's a joke. I'm only going to talk for like 45 minutes or so. But for at least the past 2 decades, Walker Ridge is a landscape, is a habitat, is a repository of biodiversity that has been under threat. So there has been at least 5 proposals by 4 companies to develop commercial scale wind energy on this place. Now, we as an organization and many of the other organizations that have fought to protect Walker Ridge have fought also to develop wind and solar energy, renewable energy in places where it is appropriate. So, but there is a difference between being able to do something and choosing not to do it because of other values. And I would say Walker Ridge is a place where development simply is not appropriate. This is a place where you have such high diversity, such fabulous habitats, such amazing recreational opportunities that it would be a shame to squander it so that a company can make a bit of energy and also can destroy these tremendous habitats. So those 4 past ones, proposals to develop wind on Walker Ridge have faltered. They haven't gone through. Now, one of the reasons why this might be true is the studies that have looked at the capacity for wind energy on Walker Ridge have showed that it's actually not the greatest place for wind energy development compared to other wind energy sites like Altamont Pass, or if you've gone over to Hatcherby Pass, and there's these kind of extensive installations of wind energy generating turbines. So Walker Ridge, not only is it special as far as habitats are concerned, it may not even be a really great place to develop wind energy in the first place. So there's a picture of a wind turbine. Has anybody ever, I can't, one of the things I miss about being able to give lectures in person is you can't interact easily with the audience. I would have asked a question if anybody had ever stood under one of these, and these things are 400 feet tall. They're massive. They're crazy big. All right, so the current development threat. In 2019, we learned that there was a new proposal to develop wind on Walker Ridge. This time by a Canadian energy company called Algonquin Power and Utilities. Their subsidiary, I think is the right way of putting it. I'm not a business person, so I don't know exactly the arrangement, but it's called Calusa Wind LLC. 2019, they initiated environmental review, which was like a scoping period, I believe is the right way of saying it. This time, the proposal is to install 42 400-foot tall turbines on the ridge. Associated with that, a lot of other development development activities, which I'll talk about a little bit more. All in all, this is the footprint of the kind of balloon of the project is 8,000 acres. But there would be over 2,200 acres of actual impact. The road would be widened to 50 feet wide in some places. They would have to require some easements on some conservation lands. That's a big deal. They would require a new electrical tie-in line. So if they were to develop this, they'd have to connect it to the grid and that would require a new line. And of course, as I've said probably too many times already, there would be an impact on biodiversity, or a huge impact on biodiversity of Walker Ridge. Some of the rare plants, they occur right along the roads. And so, if you widen the road, you're gonna wipe out some rare plant populations, which would be a bit of a tragic thing for me. or for a lot of us. Wind turbines are well known to kill flying animals. Bats would be killed. Migratory birds would also be killed. Actually, any bird that came in contact with those rotating blades of the turbines would be vulnerable. So if there would be some effects on wildlife corridors. There's been some recent studies that have showed that wind energy developments increase fire risk. So I've said that fire is not necessarily a bad thing for habitats like this, but if it happens to occur at too high of a frequency in chaparral habitats, it can be a really bad thing. It can cause those chaparral habitats to convert to habitats that are more dominated by herbaceous plants, especially invasive plants. So that could be a bad thing. Adding more fire to the ecosystem could be a really bad thing. And of course, erosion would, from soil that is loosened by the development activities would be problematic, as well as the impacts on wetlands. So generally, there's no way to develop in a place like Walker Ridge and have it be harmless or light on the landscape. A little bit of notes about past advocacy. Previous development proposals have been opposed by many organizations and many individuals. Many members of the public have spoken out. CMPS, my organization, has petitioned that the entirety of Walker Ridge be made an area of critical environmental concern, or an ACEC, twice, in 2005 and 2011. To date, BLM has not responded to our proposal, which is a bit unfortunate. The premise of the ACEC proposal, our proposal to make this an ACEC, is that it's a special place for diversity at all levels, plants, animals, all of those, and habitats. And that it should just be, the opportunity for development should be taken away, and this area should be managed for the best uses, which is, which would be multiple uses: recreation, appreciation of those wonderful biological resources that occur there, and not for the benefit of a relatively few number of people. I think we can reach our renewable energy goals without developing a special place like Walker Ridge. So current advocacy. Our Protect Walker Ridge Alliance, was formed in 2000. We formed it in 2019. I guess it materialized from the threat, really. It includes a lot of organizations, including CNPS and Tuliomi and Sierra Club and others. It's been great to work with all these great folks. And that has involved our advocacy has involved the creation of a website. We circulated a petition that now has 5,000 plus signatures. I'd love to get it to 10,000. I'll share with anybody who's interested our petition, and we can get that up to even more numbers. We've done some webinars and presentations. Some of the artwork there that you're seeing here on the right-hand side is by the fabulous artist, watercolor artist Obi Kaufman, who we worked with on a presentation that featured his art, and that's available on the website that I'll give you a link to if you're interested in seeing that. We did an eco flight, which got one of the Lake County Board of Supervisors up in the air over Walker Ridge, along with Glenn and some others, to see Walker Ridge from a different perspective. We produced education materials and done a fair bit of advocacy to BLM and other decision makers to try and push this in the right direction. And our goals, of course we have goals, so that we're not just doing this, this advocacy for nothing, right? The first is to make sure this current proposal goes away, to defeat that proposal to develop wind on Walker Ridge. And then once that's done, or even if it's not, we could continue on. We're pushing forward with efforts to conserve Walker Ridge in perpetuity, and following that, to ensure that there is better management, to make sure that it is enjoyed by many, and that the plants and animals that live there forever. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to conserve Walker Ridge forever and for everyone? Well, one of those ways would be to make it an area of critical environmental concern, and make sure that that ACEC precludes development. Others could involve federal legislation, meaning removing it from, getting a legislator to draft some legislation that just says simply in federal law that you're not allowed to develop Walker Ridge. That would be cool. And then one of the coolest things I think, I mean, if I was going to choose like maybe the best thing that could happen to Walker Ridge would be to add it to Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument. That would just be, I think that would be the best conclusion here. And I think, you know what, and I think we can make this happen. And you know, I've talked a little bit about management. If you've been up to Walker Ridge, you've seen that there are recreation impacts, especially from OHV use. This is not the place where, I'm not saying no to OHV use or vehicle-based recreation. I'm saying no to destructive forms of it. And so what we really need is to, you know, once Walker Ridge is conserved, and I think it will be, I think we have a really good chance of making this happen. We need to make sure that it is better managed, and managed in a way that we as the people who care about this place, and the way that BLM would do it if they really, really cared about this special place. This is not a place that should suffer, you know, a death by 1,000 cuts. This is the kind of place that we should be treating like one of the you know, most special and spectacular places in California. Like we treat places like the Carrizo Plain, you know, like where, well, I guess there's some threats to the Carrizo Plain too. But I mean, I'm thinking like national park status, not that we make it a national park, but this is the kind of place that has the botanical values of that like no other. And then I would say we need to develop, you know, some opportunities, some new recreation opportunities, because the access is so good there. This is a place where new well-planned hiking trails could exist. This is a place where we could even have handicap accessible places. You know, that's how good the access is. And so this is a place for all to enjoy. And then of course, restoring and repairing any of those harms that have been, you know, that exist on the landscape is definitely a good idea. Okay, so what can you do? I can share with anybody who is interested our link to our petition. This is the change.org site. It shows we have about 5,100 signatures to date. You can visit the cmps.org, and this is the URL. But if you were to type in your browser that says CMPS Walker Ridge, you'd come up with this website, which gives a lot of information on what we've been doing and some media type of stuff, photos and videos, and some links to some past presentations that we've done and others have done. And then, of course, if you're interested in taking action, CMPS and other organizations, including, I'm sure, Tuliomi, will be sharing things that you can do when the time comes, when the right time exists. And so if you follow CMPS and other organizations that are a part of this alliance on social media, you'll be informed when we say, hey, we need letters written, or we need you to call your elected representatives, say that, those type of things. So just staying informed is a really important thing at this point in time. And should the current proposal to develop wind on Walker Ridge move forward, and we hope it doesn't, then we're going to need as many people as possible writing letters to BLM and telling them why this is just simply not a good idea. So this is the point in the talk when I get to give thanks to, we've received some really good funding to help with this work, by Rose Foundation all the way down to folks like Bob Schneider and John Hunter and other folks in the Sierra Club. I'm really happy that folks like Obi Kaufman are involved, and photographers like Steve Edwards and Glenn Holstein have let me use their wonderful photos of this place, because I don't have that many of my own that do the place justice. And so, I mean, this is truly, a group effort. This is not a CMPS effort. This is a larger community than that. And I'm really happy to be a part of it. And I hope that maybe sometime in the very near future, maybe a presentation of this nature will include a number of slides on how we won, and how this place became part of our heritage as a people, and that we could pass this on to future generations in a place that was not destroyed, that was instead conserved and made better by our actions. And so I'm going to leave you with a few remaining beautiful photos of Walker Ridge. we probably haven't done it justice in the photos. We need to wait for a good rain year and good timing. And then maybe you go on a Tuliomi field trip, or you just go up there on your own and do some discovery of your own. It truly is a really great place that is ripe for conservation. So that's the end of my talk. I said about 45 minutes. I think I did all right on that. And so we can entertain questions. We can have a conversation now.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick. Now, this talk is being recorded. So what I'm going to do is put the links that Nick was talking about. I'll put them in the description of the recording that will be posted in the Tuliomi YouTube channel. And I'll be sending everybody who registered for this talk, I'll be sending them a link to the YouTube video. So you'll be able to get those links in there. Bob also put the link into the chat. So if you guys want to get that link there, you can get it there.
Yeah, and I think Bob brought up a really good point that, so California, as many of you have heard, and other places in the world are shooting to conserve more land, and land is permanently protected and managed properly. You might have heard this initiative called 30 by 30. It's an amazing and ambitious, and I think an achievable effort to conserve places that like Walker Ridge that need to be conserved. So this to me is an easy choice of our state and federal government to make Walker Ridge a part of this effort that actually is an investment in our future, and I mean, I dare say in our survival as a species. We have to conserve places like Walker Ridge. If we can't conserve a place like this, then I don't know what I would do, but I think there are places to draw the line in the sand, and this is one of them.
Okay, I have a question. So
sure.
Obviously the Walker Ridge is a fire-prone area. It burns every few years. If they were having a lot of expensive wind generation equipment up there, I'm sure they would want to protect it. And they would probably, so this is a question. Is part of the plan just to do fire breaks, land clearing to protect the equipment that would be placed up there?
Yeah, that has crossed my mind. And I think so. We haven't seen a full proposal by this current project applicant yet, but I would imagine that they have no interest in burning up, I don't know how much a wind turbine costs, but it's probably in the millions of dollars. And I would be super, first of all, I would be super scared of what they would do to protect in anticipation of the inevitable fire. And I would also be super scared what they would do if a fire was coming. It wouldn't be gentle on rare plant habitats, even if they had conserved them around the towers. It would probably be pretty drastic. So, yeah, it's a great question. It's not something I think we really want to get. It's just not a feature that I want to see. It'd be pretty. This would be very, very heavy on the land. Yeah, and Bob has pointed out, if you're not monitoring the chat, that there would likely be a restriction of recreation access to much of Walker Ridge if this development were to occur. So, all of those folks who are going up to Walker Ridge on a weekend or even a weekday to do whatever forms of recreation they're going up there for might be restricted from doing this. And this is, another part of 30 by 30, and a lot of what we've been arguing for in the conservation community as of late is access to nature. And so, this is a place where people can access nature, and this is not not a good deal for that side of this either. Any other questions?
So thank you, Nick. Anybody have any other questions?
So also, these Zoom meetings are good because you don't get rotten tomatoes thrown at you like I usually do when I give talks. Cool.
Okay, well, I don't have any more. So those of you that haven't been there, it is a public road, Walker Ridge Road. You can drive up Highway 20 turn right on Walker Ridge Road and anybody can drive out there. So you can see for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an easy day trip from Sacramento and the Bay Area as well. And even in a year like this where it's not the finest flower year, I mean, it's still worth going up there just for the views, I would say. I've always thought that would be a wonderful place to do like stargazing, or like, can you imagine being on top of Walker Ridge when the lunar eclipse happened this week, or the super moon or whatever that was? That would be pretty incredible up there, I think. Something we should all have on our list.
The super blood moon.
Super blood moon. Okay. This is when I'm really out of my area of expertise. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Bob's saying, take lots of water. Yeah, it'll be hot up there. Don't go up on Monday. I don't think Monday is a good day to go up there. Don't go up for Memorial Day. It's going to be super sweltering. All right.
All right.
Cool.
With that,
Thank you, everyone.
If there are no more questions, we could end the meeting and say goodbye. Thank you very much, Nick.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Cool. All right. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.